Okay, today we are going to study exponential functions, which is very useful because the exponential functions it has a lot of applications in the real life. So in this video and the next videos, we are going to study what is an exponential function, and we're gonna see some properties of this function and how can we apply the function into our real life. So let's first take a look at the definition. So the definition says if we have a real number b, so here b is a real number and this real number is greater than 0 and is not equal to 1, then if we define a function f in this way, so fx is equal to b to raised to the power of x, and x is our input, x is any real number, then this function is called the exponential function with base b. So which means in this function, as I said, x is our input. X is our input, and b is a fixed number. So b is a fixed number. For each exponential function, there will be a fixed number b. So b is called the base. Now let me write down some examples. So for example, fx equals 2 to the x. This will be an exponential function. Now in this example, the b equals 2, or fx equals 1.3 to the power of x. Now in this case, the base is 1.3. Now the base can also be a fraction like 7 over 3x, or it can be a very weird number like pi, right? Because pi is 3.141 whatever. So this is also exponential function. And when we use e as the base, this is called the natural exponential function, and we will see this later. Okay. So these are all exponential functions. Next, I'm gonna show you some functions that are not exponential functions. Like here, if I switch between 2 and x, this function is not exponential function because right now the base is not a fixed number, right? We wanted the base to be a fixed number. Now this function is a quadratic function. And because we require the b to be greater than 0 and not equal to 1, so if we have this thing 1 raised to the power of x, this is not exponential function. And if the base is -1, for example, -2, this is also not an exponential function. Now let me show you why the base cannot be a negative numbers. Now the reason why the base cannot be a negative number is because if the base is a negative number, then we might not be able to evaluate the function. Let me show you why. So for example, if the base is a positive number, like 2 to the x, so in this case, I'm able to evaluate the function with any x values, So like when x equals 4, I can figure out that the function value is 2 to the power of 4, because right now the input is 4. So this will give me 16, right? And when x equals negative 2, so now the function value is 2 to the negative 2. And in the study of exponents, we know that this will be equal to 1 over 2 to the power of 2, so it's 1/4. Right? So it gave us another real number. And when x equals 1 over 2, so the function value is going to be 2 to the power of 1 over 2, which is, from the study of radicals, we know this is equal to the square root of 2. So in this case, no matter what is my x, what is x, we are always able to find out a corresponding function values. We're always able to find out a corresponding y values. However, if we consider a negative number and use it as a base, then we will have a trouble. The trouble is if we are asked to find, for example, what is the function value when x equals 1/2. This means you are going to evaluate what is negative 2 to the power of 1/2. And because this is equal to the square root of negative 2, and this is undefined, because we are talking about real numbers, right? So the square root of negative 2, this number doesn't exist if we are talking about the real numbers. So that's why we are not able to use this negative number as our base. So that's why when we define an exponential function, we need the b to be a positive numbers. Okay, we need the b to be positive numbers, and also it cannot be 0, because if it's 0, we and if you are asked to evaluate what is the function value when x equals negative 3, so when x equals some negative numbers, when the input is negative numbers, you are going to evaluate 0 to the power of negative 3, and this will be 1 over 0 to the power of positive 3. And again, this is undefined. So for the exponential function, the b has to be a positive number. And this positive number and is not equal to 1. Okay, now this is very important. Okay, this is very important.